I hear you. Yes. Hello?
Yep.
Yeah. All right, sounding good. Let me check your audio volumes, see if we're kind of on the same page. I have you at
One, two,
100%.
three.
Yeah. I think that's fine. Music is maybe a little loud. But that always comes through better. Okay. Sunlight is coming to shine on my desk again. So let's block that. There we go. Okay, cool. You ready to go?
Yeah.
All right, let's do this. So we have you as a 234, maybe still Demon Slayer.
Yep.
Guild just for stats. Is that a mule guild or?
No, it's the proper guild.
Mm-hmm. One of those that started as a joke, became a real thing, kind of.
Yeah, pretty much.
I see. I see. Yeah, that works. All right. So, wait, hold on. Let me adjust one more thing a little bit. Let's turn this down a bit and then this up a bit. There we go. Okay. Oh wait. Oh no, I had it. Wait, how do I go back to the previous? Back. Yeah, and then click. There we go. All right. So take me through a day or a week in you playing Maple. Like, how much time do you have to play? What kind of stuff do you look forward to? What kind of content do you play and do you enjoy specifically?
So I'd say put an hour to an hour and a half into doing my daily runs and my daily bosses.
Mm-hmm.
If I have leftover time, I would normally just start doing one of the weekly quests. Kind of changed with this event though. This During the event, I started having to cap on a lot of my characters since I'm trying to like buy out most of the membership shop.
Yeah.
Uh,
What specifically in the shop are you looking for getting?
uh, Flames, cubes, node stones.
Mm-hmm.
I'm pretty much trying to get like clear out the entire shop just because if I don't have to spend meso on it, I might as well take it.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So normally I would just I'd say I spend like a week making either a Legion character or a Link skill that I think will help me during the mobbing sessions,
Mm-hmm.
and I'd try to get one or two totems done a week. I've kind of been slacking recently until this event, or not this event, but some of my totems were expiring, so I had to like start farming for those. But other than that, I've kind of been slacking.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, right now I'm kind of struggling between like how I should be spending my meso.
Right, because we do have we just got news that the cubing session is a go,
Yep.
and that can affect things. Yeah, for people at home who don't know yet, the cube sale was confirmed in the Cash Up update. 25% off stacks of 30 red and blacks, and it doesn't seem like there is a it doesn't seem like there's a limit to how many we can buy, so that does mean that's a good time. And there is very rarely a cube sale. Last one was at late November, so that we're looking at like 6 months ago. So that being said, also of course we have a Faction 15 the week after, so we'll take that as we'll definitely keep that in mind. So usually I go about equips kind of like last. So how are you doing with Legion and Lynx? How's that going for you?
I think I'm steadily growing them.
Mm-hmm.
Like recently, I've kind of been on a roll in terms of growing them. Like I think I started playing in February,
Mm-hmm.
so I think most of my progress in my Legion and Link skills have been second half of April, early May.
Okay.
So I think I've been doing a pretty good job in terms of like getting on the training ones, making sure I don't just leave them at 140. I try to give them a few extra levels as well in the process, especially the
Yeah.
ones I want to take to level 3.
Yeah. So you say I do one at a time per week.
One at a time. That's been more recently.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, Early on, I kind of like when I wanted to just grind from 210 to 220, I try to make all the training relevant link skills immediately.
Mm-hmm.
So last week I started working on my arc, so that's what I meant by like once a week at this point.
Right. So do you tend to go like one character at a time to like level 200
Yeah,
and then
pretty
start
much.
the new one?
Yeah, for me, I don't have enough mezzo to like spread them all around to fund each character a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
So I'd rather just have focus on one character at a time, get them enough pots and whatever, so that I could get them at least to 200, or that's at least the goal right now.
Mm-hmm. So if that's a fun thing for you to do and you feel like you're doing fine there, I don't want to like rain in your parade. The thing is though that every single level that you gain, as long as you're working up to having 40 characters in total that are at least level 60, every single one level just counts as one level, right? It has like the same value.
Yeah.
So if you level your Mercedes to 190, that's one. But if you get a new character, completely new character and start it and get to level 60, that's 60 levels. So when it
Yeah,
comes
I
to like
think.
efficiency on
Yep.
building out your legion, it's good to have your characters and have your link skills and everything, but don't underestimate the value of building out your grid and getting more characters in the grid, because then you can start filling out stats like critical damage, like critical rate is not very important for you as Demon Slayer, but like boss damage and maybe ID if you need that, and then those stats in itself kind of count as like extra link skills or like extra buffs on top of everything as well.
I was thinking of that, but then at the same time, I feel like if I don't want to sleep, or for me, my priority was leaving characters at least at 140. Then
Mm-hmm.
I'll consider leveling up in the future.
Mm-hmm.
But for me, I don't think I kind of don't I kind of want to avoid parking them at 160 or level 60 or level 70, just because I feel like I should at least try to get used to the character before, since I'm eventually going to train it anyway. So I might
Mm-hmm.
as well get used to the character, have some fun with it. It's a
Mm-hmm.
different experience kind of situation.
Yeah, and it's definitely that's definitely not a bad thing. I'm coming more at this from an angle of just trying to inform you on like the value of your time.
Yeah.
You can get a lot of value for little time spent by spreading yourself thin on a lot of characters first, and this can also give you an idea of like which characters you absolutely hate. And if you find a character you absolutely hate, but they do have a good link skill and a good buff, then you can throw those up as candidates for burning or mega burning later. And then it's just a level 60 character that you're replacing anyway, and then doesn't feel like a huge loss, you know?
Too
Whereas
bad I restarted on Mercedes.
yeah, well now you're in you're in too deep with that one. But you have bonking now, right? You have the infinity pool,
Yeah.
so you can definitely brute force your way to 200. That shouldn't be that big of a problem. And then yeah, and then when you're at 200, some level up potions here, a little bit of training there. You have your fifth job. That'll give you a nice boost there, and then that'll just
Mhm.
help you get to 210 for sure. I think the fifth job for Mercedes is actually kind of dope. This was like before you had Vanishing Journey, and Reverse City is a really good area, so they'll definitely help you. But yeah, so I'm not saying that what you're doing is necessarily bad. Just trying to make sure that you like have your options clear, that you know that there's other ways of doing it as well that aren't necessarily like that might even be better like efficiency wise for your time, because if you are a little bit strained for how much time you have, I think one thing you could do is like make like every other day or something, just make a new character to level 60, and then just if you do that, like, because you have 31 slots left, right?
Yep.
If you get 31 level 60s, that's 1800 legion, so you're more than double your legion. You're at 3.4k then. At that point, you have 2 extra grids available, which means you can boost your critical damage by 13% if you want to on a character, which 13% critical damage is like 3 Kinesis links. Like 3 Kinesis level 2 links. And you get that on top of the member bonus and on top of the link skills that they get. So don't underestimate that value either. But again, yeah, don't spread yourself too thin if you're like going hard on the point capping and you're already doing bonking. I get that part. Just know that that is like a possibility. That if
Yeah.
you feel like I don't want to work on Legion because in your mind that's like because that means like getting to 200, that doesn't necessarily have to mean that. It could also just be making it like a little army of little level 60 dudes. That does also like help you in the long run, even though it feels like it's pretty much nothing, but it does help you. So do you have like a general order that you're gonna do the characters in that you are doing right now? Because you said
I was,
leveling links, right? You mentioned that.
yeah, I was kind of following the spreadsheet that you had until mechanic. I think I created an arc one just because I wanted the extra damage during training.
Mm-hmm.
I still might make the Hoyong character next because that also does a bit extra damage. Then I think I'll go back to following the order for the spreadsheet.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, it's just a general guideline. Of course, you don't have to like feel like you're fucking up if you don't exactly follow it. You know, whatever you feel like doing. It's just a general guideline. So, yeah, and yeah, again, if you feel like if there is a character that you know is useful, you just don't like training it at all, then you know you can always consider the tire burn, or well, I would say mega burn usually, but haven't seen that many mega burns recently at all. But we do know that most likely for Neo, there's going to be 2 Terra burns coming. So if you considered which ones you're gonna do for that.
I haven't watched your video on the ones that you recommended, but yeah, I haven't really decided in that regard.
So you haven't come across any character that you know is useful, but you don't like playing it at all?
Mercedes and Demon Avenger, but that's about it for now.
Yeah, they're already too high to to consider to qualify. So, yeah, okay.
They're the ones that I was bonking recently.
Okay.
Nothing as of yet. I was gonna just look at whichever has the worst leveling experience from 1 to 200 and go from there.
Yeah, that seems like a or like even lower, like at 80 or 90, you're already like, ugh. Then, you know, 3 levels at a time can really speed things up. Sometimes people feel like, oh, I already have a 140, like I can't tire burn it. It's only 60 levels. But when you think about it, 60 levels at triple the speed is 180 levels. So you're basically only doing 10 extra levels in the beginning. So it's not that much worse. Just another way to look at it. When it comes to like Evan and stuff, because you have one, is that a level 2 link you have?
Yeah, I've kind of been coming to like it. I just spam the fire breath, then the one it goes on the rock.
Yep.
I've just been spamming that, and I think my stats were fine enough that I was one-shotting the mob, so it was fine.
Okay, that's cool.
Not sure how it's gonna handle once I get near level 200. So I probably won't keep leveling that. I might keep it as a possible Terra burn candidate just in case.
Yeah, and I think if you're working up to 6k Legion, then like level 2 links is fine. Level 3 will make the leveling per character faster, but again, like if you make a whole Legion of just 140s, which, you know, comparative to getting them up to 200 is faster per character, you're going purely like for the efficiency of how much time do you spend per level in your Legion, right? And then you can get a 6k Legion by just having a whole army of 140s and then a few higher level characters, and boom, you're at 6k, you have your whole grid available. But if you know for sure that you're going to go for 8k eventually anyway, then yeah, getting your important level 3 links and then going from there, that'll help all the other characters grow faster. But again,
so looking at it from like the Legion bonuses as well,
yeah,
because some of them have the IED ones, and that's the ID and the boss ones. Those are the ones I'm kind of interested right now in.
Yep.
So those ones I definitely want to eventually move up to 200. So I'm kind of giving those more funding. So the DA is already there.
Yep.
I forgot the other ones that had IED in their
Kana
bonuses, but
sorry,
which one?
There's I think Beast Tamer and Blaster for the Legion bonuses. I believe so.
But yeah, for those I'm trying to. That's my plan in terms of. Those are the first characters I want to get to 200. Everyone else, I think I will keep at level 140 instead.
Yeah, you'll be surprised if you just make like a new character regularly, just get it to 60, move on, and then so that's what I did. Like I made a character and got it to level 100. That's what I preferred. And then at 100, just do Zakum and Monster Park, and then just do that every day and nothing else on the character, and then move on to another character for my like Legion time per day until everything is just 140. That was surprisingly fast. But yeah, whatever.
How many characters do you think I could get up from 141 to 199 during the blocking with the number of days we have left?
Yeah, if you really want to go to 199, that's a bit of a tough one because those last 10 levels is basically just 1, sometimes 2 at a time. Versus if you go into lower level characters, you get like 40 levels in 5 or 6 bonks, and then on the higher level characters in 5 or 6 bonks, you just get 6 or 7 levels basically. That's like yeah, I don't know if I would go all the way to 199 on a character. I would definitely look at a character that you don't like at all and then bonk that one, as far as is reasonable. But aside from that, use bonking to just get the volume of levels, I think is more important. And then also, it'll be easier to fund the character, right? Because you mentioned like the financial aspect, and the funding of the characters can be a bit of an issue. If your character is already 170 or 180 or 190, you'll have access to those hyper skills and stuff, and it won't be as bad, the leveling, versus if just starting at 140 and you have to do everything. You'll start feeling the snowball once you get to 2k 3k Legion. Like at 3k you get to put a whole bunch of extra characters in the grid as well, and that's also why I say make a bunch of 140s, because then if you can put 5 extra characters in a grid but they're like a bunch of level 60s, it barely gives you any big value for your Legion. But if they're a bunch of 140s, now you're covering a lot of ground, and now you're covering a lot of area.
Yeah, I'll probably just start with I'll probably just go down the list of the ones that you had up and see if I can get one, or like try to do one every day or every 2 days kind of thing.
Yeah, just
go from there.
Yeah, just find the balance that works for you, and not suddenly like you have to. But it is a lot of gains that you can make, because you'll get closer and closer to the point where you're like, okay, 1 hour on my main equals 0.01% final damage increase or something, right? If you like math it all out, versus 1 hour on a completely new character maybe can translate to like 1% final damage on your main character. It's kind of weird, but that's just how it's, when you're still in that full build up phase, the combination of Link's Legion, and the grid and everything, the grid bonus, member bonus, all of that combined could just makes it so that playing other characters is just more efficient to making your main stronger, which is counterintuitive, but that's just what you end up getting to that point, right? And what you're already noticing is that a lot of the IED boss damage, like those things, and then crit rate, crit damage to an extent, a lot of that comes from the Legion and the Links, and that'll just multiply your damage output by such a whole bunch. The thing that your character itself can do is getting the symbols and getting the nodes. That's very important on the character itself.
Basically, most of my selectors have just been sitting in my inventory for now because of the ESO costs. Since I was planning on for 5, 10, 15 in the first place, I was like, okay, I'll probably hold on to all these coins from Arcana and Lachlan. I'll probably just hold on to the selectors.
Yeah.
Do it all once I hit June.
Mm-hmm.
Then cube sale, and then gotta farm like 5 billion for the droplets.
For the droplets, yeah. When do you get to buy anything now? It seems like everything is for later. Yeah. Well, so considering that, like, on how much you play and everything, what's the income situation looking like? You doing like Maple Tour, Ursus, and then just training whenever you can on the weekend, kind of thing?
Maple Tour, Ursus, dailies, weekly bosses. As far as farming is concerned, I only have like 40% drop, which isn't anything really. I get like 150 mil an hour. That's with WAPs, but that's without the Legion Meso buff. That's mainly because I don't have enough coin income to like constantly have that on while farming. Okay.
Yeah, and you want to keep enough, if you're going to work on Legion a lot, you want to keep enough coins to rank up, of course, because that gets pretty expensive the further you go.
Yeah, that's also the reason why I'm wanting to make sure I keep my Legion raid power up, in terms of making sure the characters are properly funded. I don't leave any Star Force that I couldn't have just popped off. Make sure that I get as much as possible in that case.
Could you be a little bit closer to the mic, by the way? Because you're starting to sound a little bit more quiet. Yeah, no problem. Yeah, so when it comes to the income, so do you see a huge problem there? Like the droplets, the 5 bill for the droplets, that's like something you definitely want to go for? Yeah. So that's for the beginning of June, right? So let's get the exact date.
And the last day is June 12th, I believe.
Yeah, I think so too, because I remember something about my birthday being important for something. June 13th, the last day to buy items. Okay, so June... Right, so like 1 minute before June 13th ends should be the last day of the shops, like right after my birthday. Yeah, okay. So like on the 14th is gone, right before the 14th starts is gone. Yeah, okay. And at what rate would you say... Like, you can have 5 bill by then, guaranteed, but the question is, like... Yeah, where does that leave you with everything up to then? Yeah. Okay, so we'll keep that in mind.
Like, between 5, 10, 15 and droplets,
Mm-hmm.
I could easily get to 5 billion. I don't think that's a problem, just because I'll have enough totems expiring before then that
Mm-hmm.
I'll be farming.
Mm-hmm.
So that shouldn't be a problem. I think the real question, or my question is how I should distribute my meso between the cube sale and 5, 10, 15.
Definitely, yeah.
Because the way I planned it out right now was for. Sorry, 1 second. So the way I planned it out right now was to get my CRA gear up to 17 star.
Mm-hmm.
I'd get my face tattoos to 70 star, 17 star. Um, I think that's. I might get my shoulder to 17 star as well. I think that was about it for cubing. Sorry, for star forcing.
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't really planning on doing a lot, just mainly because I mostly have event ranks, and the other ones seem mostly replaceable, especially the penciler gear.
Mm-hmm.
So I think my estimated cost was, if I took the average cost, it was supposed to be 2.5 billion to get 5 gear up. The median cost was 300 mil per item. So
Oh yeah, you're talking
kind of
about getting like 15 to 17?
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So like there's a big range between the median rates and the average rates.
Yeah.
So I've kind of just been relying on the average rates as my
Yeah.
measurement, just in
For
case
some
I
safety.
am.
Yeah, exactly. Have some buffer. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, that's usually what I do as well. Like, yeah, if you do a lot of items, it'd probably be a little bit closer to the medium. But you know, you wanna build in a buffer for sure. That's definitely the way to look at it. Yeah, and it's like a difference of over 50% between the median and the average. Yeah, so that's a little bit. Mm-hmm.
So I've been mainly just relying on the average number for it. So I was thinking 2.5 billion.
Yeah.
So it became a question of, can I farm that much in a week or not?
Yeah. The problem there is like the pressure, and then if anything happens, then you'll be like, ugh. Yeah. There is some extra value that you might have. Like, is there do you have like boss drops that you have an NPC, like maybe a bunch of rocks, rocks of time, right?
Yeah.
Pieces of time, maybe well, not primals, you want to keep those, but like confusion fragments, philosopher stones. There could be some hidden, sometimes a few 100 mil in those if you have those left as well.
Yeah, I have like a decent amount. I think I could get 500 to a bill from it.
Mm-hmm.
So I was thinking, with that plus my Ursus runs and my Maple tour,
Mm-hmm.
if I get a few extra runs with Maple points, I have like 10k or something. So if I get a few extra runs with those, I think I'll have enough if I include a couple of totems as well.
Yeah, the thing is you make a lot of money training. And the thing is also, if we can get you to the point where we can get you some meso and drop rate gear, then you can make even more money while training, right?
Yeah.
And then you can make it back way fast. You can almost double your gains of meso per, if you make sure you use your coupons, you get your wops out. And you have some totems, then you can go pretty hard on that. So speaking of that, like, what's your current setup? Is it just you don't have like a side kana or anything, right? Is that something you're thinking about, or are you just playing the main for now and just that's fine at this point?
I'm kind of dreading the idea of having to do it,
Mm-hmm.
but I kind of accepted that I kind of will eventually, but so right now I'm kind of worried for my main account because I think I think my damage is a bit low, or my damage and my stat. I don't think I included it in the screenshots, unfortunately.
Well, what are you able to do on your character? Because that's, I think, a good point to see, like, are you weak or not, right? Like, what are you able to do?
I could do I could do 3 doors. I can't do C-Vel.
Mm-hmm.
I farm at Cavern Lower Path, and
yeah.
I would say 80 to 90% of the time I have 100%. I have like one shot,
Mm-hmm.
but when my Demon Slayer buffs aren't on, during that downtime, I kind of just throw out the the snake that kind of like destroys like half the map.
Yeah,
And
you
during
can
that time,
just
I would,
rotate between your big fifth job skills, right? So that there's always like
yeah,
one of them on, so that you basically always cover the full map.
yeah. So during that's the only time I'll say I don't have, I can't one shot the mobs there.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't really use the short duration buffs. I don't use like the ones that only last for a minute. I only use Metamorphosis, and I have my pet auto buffing the hero of the 15% one.
God, I haven't had Demon Slayer in a while. What is that?
Sorry, sorry, Maple Warrior.
Right. Okay. Yeah, that one. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Because you want the base stats to be up. So it's just a booster, warrior, and then the metamorphosis. I mean, at 235, if you're able to clear there. So what when it comes to, so well, don't need to go too much into the bossing if that's not something that you are totally into. But we can talk about CVAL a little bit on like what is like what's the major hang up there? Like what's the obstacle there? What's stopping you from killing that one? Do you think?
I don't think I have no IED.
Mm-hmm. So have you looked into IED, into my information on that?
I didn't, but I did watch your recent progression session about how IED was calculated.
Mm-hmm. Does that all make
And
sense?
yeah, so I'm just not sure what to use as in terms of big sources of IED other than Legion and getting familiar skills. I have like a bunch saved up, so I'm gonna like pop them all off and see if I roll any ID.
Mm-hmm.
But other than those, I don't know what other sources to consider.
Mm-hmm. Well, the thing is, it's very dependent on the class, right? Whether you need to get a lot of IED or not. So if you have a bunch of skills as a demon slayer that give you a bunch of IED in them, then IED as a priority goes a little bit lower on the list. But of course, it depends on what class, what the uptime of the skills is and everything like that. So for that, it's very important to know what your functional IED is, right? Because just what shows in your stat window, that might be misleading depending on what class you are. It looks like you have 86 visual. Is that with the familiars on?
It's 84 without and no familiars. Oh wait, I had 86 there. Never mind.
Yeah, that might be like an event tile or something, right? Because the VIP buff might be giving you some.
It might have been one of my buffs. I don't have any on right now. That's why.
Okay, so right now you have 84.
Yeah.
Okay, and that's without the familiars.
Yeah.
And you have
So
two.
it's like when I use my fifth skills, I pretty much have an additional 50% IED on those attacks.
Yeah.
So
What's that skill again?
During that time, it's fine.
That's the
Demon Awakening and
Demon
Orthos.
Awakening. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So during that time, I pretty much have like enough IED.
Mm-hmm.
It's just that when I'm like, it's during the time when I don't have those skills up and just try and dodge tails. I'm still getting used to the mechanics, so that's kind of where I'm struggling with right now.
Yeah.
Well, I'll eventually get to it.
Yeah. I'm mainly focusing now on the IED part so that we can like settle that part, and then when that's settled, we can move on to the other pieces and make sure that all of the individual pieces of the puzzle like kind of come together, you know. So it seems. So do you use Demon Cry for debuff on the boss? When you can?
Really, I kind of use it for the item and drop buff.
Yeah.
Which is weird because I never see it in terms of like, oh, now you're going to drop 30% more, 20% more as like a buff.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't realize, or I don't know if it actually works or not the way they said it does.
Yeah, you just have to kind of assume that it does, I guess. But it does, it lasts for 20 seconds and it does give you 15% IED as well, right? So if you're planning on doing like a bind and a big burst, it might be a good idea to also pop it before, like right before, make sure it's debuffed. Then it comes up at the right time, bind it, throw up your big skills right in it, right? Because then, especially on the bosses that have that higher IED, it's a good idea, or a higher PDR, sorry. It's a good idea to make sure you utilize all of your IED sources. And then Demon Impact has 30% in itself as well, which is really good.
That's the main one I use during boss rooms.
And your bind gives you a passive of 30 IED, so that's also why you have quite a bit. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think so. The reason I'm going over all of this is that some classes might need to get a line of IED on their weapon, secondary, or emblem, to kind of bridge the gap between getting full Gollux or getting the giant 40% block in your Legion. If you have what seems to be like a lot of sources of ID, plus your 5th job, right, has ID built into it, I think ID-wise you should be fine. Do you have 1 or 2 familiars with ID?
Have 1 right now.
Yeah, once you get that second one, I think you should be fine because you've got the ID set up, and then once your boost nodes get leveled, then you get the extra ID from there. So I think ID-wise you're fine. And then the other thing is critical rate. I believe Demon Slayers are very good at as well, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's I think it goes up to 100 with Demon Awakening.
And what's the Demon Awakening uptime?
It's
Does that change?
45 seconds with 120 second cooldown. So I normally do Demon Awakening.
Up, yeah.
Demon Awakening, then I'll just wait 45. If it's a burst on a boss, I'll do both at the same time. But at least for mobbing, I always just go the Orthus one first, then I'll go Demon Awakening, then I'll pop Spirit of Rage, and that's how I normally cycle through the map.
Yeah. Oh yeah. So wow. So Demon Awakening when it's max 65 seconds duration, and so that's over 50% uptime. Wow. 65% crit rate, 50% IED, 50% boss damage. That skill's broken. Okay. So that's a really good one to level as well. So I think the main other thing that we haven't mentioned yet is Blue Blood, right? How's your Blue Blood management?
I normally have it up. I always combine it with what's the skill name? Boundless Rage, since the cooldown reduces when both are active at the same time.
Boundless Rage is that your skills don't require DF for a while, right? Yeah, okay.
And it has the skill has a cooldown reduction when they're both active, like every 2 seconds, or 2 seconds less cooldown for every 4 seconds is active together.
Yep.
So I have Blue Blood normally active like for pretty much most of the boss fight.
Right. Okay. Yeah, because when you talk about like maybe not being able to kill, that's like one of the major things, right? Make sure that you have 90% final damage active, of course. That's a very important one. Okay, so take me through the boss fight. What is like what are you having trouble with?
Because I think it's just me getting, like, for me, I'm struggling with the jump, because for me it's like when dodging. For me, I was playing on a Kana before, just to level the mule up, and for me a teleport class works amazingly. Just press a button, hold the arrow key, and just goes like that. It's just that I'm struggling with the jump, then jump again to jump to the side kind of thing.
Right.
It isn't as quick.
What mobility do you use on the Demon Slayer? Do you have the jump locked, or what kind of?
Yeah, I have the jump locked.
I've never used that myself. I would always glide.
I think I was actually talking to some other Demon Slayer that recommended, like, I used to have it on glide, but I didn't know you could lock it. So he was like, yeah, you should probably put on lock just at least during mobbing, just because it's a lot quicker to jump around the map.
For mobbing, it might be quicker, yeah, for sure. Yeah, I've just played the Demon Avenger for so many years without that feature even being a thing. And you can still flash jump, right? You just have to jump and then double tap forward. But yeah, it's one fewer input. If you're flash jumping a lot, then it makes more sense to do it that way. But for bossing, I find that glide gives you a lot of I don't know, I feel like it gives you a lot more precise freedom on where to land than a flash jump. Because then, if you want to flash jump, it depends on what height you flash jump again. That determines how far you're going to go, right? Yeah. But for a glide, it doesn't matter where you start gliding. It only matters where you let go of the glide. And that determines where you land. So I always find that a little bit more rewarding. But the main thing with Vellum in the beginning is dodging the rocks. That's I'm going to assume that you probably get stunned every now and then just die. Is that...
I'm stunned more often than I'm not.
Yeah, so that's just the main... That is just the thing to get used to. And I use like a really dumb analogy. Are you familiar with like bicycles and spokes and wheels?
No.
So you know what a bicycle looks like, right?
Yeah.
So they have spokes, and there's just a set distance between two spokes. So what happens if you put your finger in somewhere in the wheel, you close your eyes, there's a chance that you hit a spoke, right? And this is the analogy for the rock. Now, if you take your finger back and you randomly put it somewhere else, there will be another chance that you hit a spoke, which will be another rock. But if you know for the first one that you hit one, you always know exactly where you can put your finger where you won't hit a spoke, and that is 1 inch to the left and 1 inch to the right, because there's a minimal distance between them. And that's how you want to see the rocks in the map as well. If you see any rock, there might be other rocks off screen that you then dive into and then die to. But if you see a rock, then you also know where there is no rock, and that is there's a minimal distance between the rocks. Once you see that distance, that's what you have to get used to. If you are that distance to the left or that distance to the right of the rock, you're always going to be safe.
I think that's where swapping out the lock for the glide for the jump glide thing would probably work best, because
I think so too.
It's when I'm jumping out, then I'll hit a rock, and that's what.
And then you fall straight down, and then a tail comes up, or Vellum comes back, and you don't have enough distance, right? Yeah. I think that might help you out. So one main thing can just be going into Vellum and just not even attacking, but just focusing on his attacks, on his patterns, and like the rhythm of the attacks, like how much time is in between the attacks. See if you can discover the patterns, and looking at the rocks and just dodging everything, and just running out the clock without dying. And then you can just make Vellum your little bitch, because then you know exactly what's going on the side, and then you can focus on your cooldown timers, because you have a lot of setup for your burst, right? And how many times are you like mid setting everything up, and then you get hit by a rock, and then he's bound, and you're just standing there looking at him, and nothing's going on. All of your damage is going to waste, right? You want to become Lord and Master of dodging the rocks. And once you can do that, you know exactly like, oh, you see an indicator? Okay, I have 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, boom. Now they're going to fall, right? Then you could just jump around wherever you want. And this is the main problem that people who play Thieves have, because they just pop Dark Side and just jump anywhere. And then if they play a non-Thief, it's like, holy shit, these rocks are so annoying, because they never learn how to dodge those things. And teleportation is a lot easier, yeah. But then the thing you have to deal with is like, what is the distance of your teleport, and what is the distance in between the rocks, and then getting used to that. But like the rocks are actually really easy now that I noticed on the battle mage, because the teleportation is exactly like the distance between the rocks. So I'm just dancing around the map like a ballerina. But with other classes, specifically with warriors, those are your main things, getting used to those rocks.
Okay.
Yeah, so I would suggest just practice run and just dodging around, getting used to that, getting used to the glide. And if you can run out the clock without dying, then just start going hard on the damage. And I can see your damage range, and if you can 3-door, like, you should have no problem with Vellum after that. It's just boss mechanics that you have to get used to. But a lot of bosses in the future have a lot of stuff falling from the ceiling, and it seems to be a pattern that isn't stopping anytime soon. So it is very valuable practice for the future.
So I kind of have like a general question I was kind of asking in Discord before, but so I'm kind of worried about in terms of once a Neo patch kicks in, I'm pushed up 2 levels. That also means I have 2 less levels I could spend farming Meso and Arcana, because for me it consistently works. I get a decent amount of Meso for how I'm already earning at this point. So it's kind of like, do I want to artificially keep myself here at least until the patch hits, and then I no longer could just suicide myself to stay on the level? Like I guess
that's until like 240
bridge and all that.
Yeah, is it 247 or something if you want to have no penalty? Or
yeah, 247.
Like I've never much seen the use for doing that on a main character. On a Kana, I can totally see it, but like on a main character, I never saw the use for doing that, because the higher areas, as long as your kill speed stays up, especially on a Demon Slayer, your rates stay the same or even go higher. Like, I know Demon Slayers in Limina who are making like 900 mil an hour now. So it's not like you lose income potential. The main reason why people did it in the past was to make sure that you could get the lucid droplets, right? But with the exchange mechanic also coming in KMS, that goes off the table as well. The one thing that people are thinking about now is, do I stay at 258 or something so I can keep making good rates in Limina and making droplets before moving on to the Arc, the next area that's coming, right? Not the Hotel Arcus, but like in between that. What's it called again? Jeez, now I forgot the name. Yeah, someone in chat will tell me. That's now the thing that people are considering, but that's a little bit further away for you right now. Cernium, yeah, because there are no droplets drop anymore, and if you still need arcane, you still need backups, then that is a thing that you need to consider. But for now, I would just keep going, because you just need to get stronger and.
Still be popping EXP coupons, or is it fine to just like level just with the totem?
I would, so that kind of depends on how much you play. Personally, I train so little that I always have totems available, and that it's almost like a waste if I wouldn't use 2x EXP. But if you can't fully coverage, like what's your access to EXP coupons right now? Are you doing Dojo as well for those coupons?
I'm not doing Dojo. I mainly rely on whatever I get from MVP, whatever I get from Sunday.
Saturday
And
can also give.
compensations.
Yeah, Saturday can also give, right?
Yeah.
Saturday boxes, yeah.
I think I leave Saturday for my mules.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like if you open up a Sunday, it's like a 1.5 or something. You can still use that, right, for coverage. Dojo might be a good idea to incorporate in, and then you can buy. Just do like one run a week, and then that's it. And then on Monday you get your points. Just like the further you get, it's a good way of also like getting to know your characters and your skill rotations and stuff, and also just to see your character getting stronger. It also feels nice to just get further. But the building up the dojo points is a good idea, so that if you want to go hard on training, because of some event or something, you can just dip into the dojo shop for those extra. What is it? 10? I think it's 10 coupons of 30 minutes, right, per week. So that's an extra 5 hours per week that you can purchase. And or if you want to go hard on your inner ability, right, you can buy extra honor experience there as well. So that is multi-purpose, because honor experience, it's a pretty slow to build up resource otherwise.
Yeah. For some reason, I get like 100k in like a day on one of my new accounts, but it's feeling very slow in terms of getting honor experience for a main right now.
Yeah, a new character like gets a lot right after the creation, but then it slows down tremendously. I think every new character gets like 200 or 300k like very, very quickly, but then after that it's super, super slow to keep building it up for sure.
So I want to talk about how to work on my drop equipment
Oh, sorry, you broke up a little bit. What kind of equipment?
My drop gear and my meso gear.
Mm-hmm.
So my main goal, at least for my main character, my main goal of twin capping was getting the 100 Meister cubes in the event shop, getting the chaos ring, and essentially making all my current event ranks into drop gear.
Yeah.
So I was wondering if I should should I just do that immediately so I could when I'm going to be working on the 5, 10, 15 totems or totems to farm for 5, 10, 15, I'd have those available. Or is it fine? Or do you think it's going to be hard to get it within those 100 cubes?
100 is a lot. The main problem is the tiering up, right? It'll probably almost be better to make sure that during the cube sale that you just get a few just a few packs of black cubes just to get everything up to legendary, because it just feels better. Because you just waste so many cubes just getting up to legendary in the first place if you use Meisters or Reds.
Okay.
It's about the same value, but it's just it's a little bit faster, so it just feels more satisfying basically. And it also feels worse when you fail a lot, but that's the downside, I guess. But
so I should be used it's Meister fine to get all my rings to unique, then I use black cubes to tier up to legendary, or should I just use black cubes straight from epic?
Yeah, straight from epic you can do that, yeah, for sure. Because the thing is also, if you get buying the Meister cubes to do the re-rolling, if you use a lot of those, you're familiar with the concept of opportunity cost, or no?
Like if you're spending your cubes on one thing, you don't have the meso for another thing, kind of thing.
Yeah, but also if you use your event currency on the cubes and then the cubes all fail, that might feel really bad, because you could have bought some other stuff in the event shop, right? And that translates itself to capping on a bunch of characters that you may have been able to spend your time better on, right? It has like a downstream feeling really bad kind of thing.
I don't think I feel that bad about capping on a lot of characters right now, just because
Mm-hmm.
I've been organically leveling my Legion just from doing the coin caps. So it's like I think I got like at least 100 levels off just leveling
Right.
all my mules that have been coin capping.
That would be mainly for the flames, though, right? Because I think those
Yeah, the
Meister
flames
cubes
are
are not
the main reason.
tradable.
The flames are the main reason why.
Yeah. Okay. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, I got that. Yeah, it's like you're just getting bonus money, right? Because otherwise you'd have to buy the flames anyway, kind of thing. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, because like 100, if you wanted to get, because you have the master ring. Which other event rings do you have, or are you getting?
I was planning on getting the Chaos Ring, and then I might get the Cosmos Ring as well.
Mm-hmm. So the thing with that is that the Chaos Ring is very expensive, right? It's almost like 3 times
Yeah,
the price of the other ones. And with Neo, we're gonna have the even stronger rings coming out.
that's what I was wondering though. Is the stat detriment between the Chaos Ring and the Cosmos Ring, is it like bad enough that I should get the Chaos Ring, or because kind of
My
worried about
intuition
making
says
God
no.
tier.
I think you should go just get the Vengeful and the Cosmos. Like they're pretty good.
I have
And
the
then
Vengeful one.
yeah, yeah. I think if you just have those two, you're just filling the slots. And then if you want to improve upon that, you can go for the bigger rings in Neo. You can get up to 3 there. So even with that included, you're already at like 7 rings, I think, right? Or maybe even 8.
But should I just use the ones I get from Neo as damage ones for now? At least because
Yeah.
I kind of don't have any damage rings anymore.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Well, you'll end up with just like a combination set, right? You'll end up with like hybrid rings that hopefully have a little bit of strength, but then
Yeah.
mainly have meso and drop. And initially, you just roll for meso or drop, and then move on to the next item, right? Until you have your full set, and then focus on making money. 5, 10, 15, getting everything up to 17 that is useful to get to 17. And then saving up for the droplets, and then you can be like, okay, maybe we recube the accessories a little bit to see if we can get like a line of strength on everything as well, because at that point you're going to go to a higher level area. The switching to the drop set is going to be too much of a detriment to your damage. Maybe you also want to do some bosses in your drop rate set, right? So you don't have to switch at the end because it's really annoying. And getting a little bit of strength will speed up doing the bosses in your drop rate set as well. Then you get more drops from bosses, get more returns, more flames, more cubes, etc., etc. That'll be like the general order of like looking at the expenditure, I think, considering like what you do in a week, and with the time frame that we have to work with the events that are upcoming.
So right now I have like 5 billion saved up,
Mm-hmm.
which I was planning on for the droplets, but I'm guessing I would just be using for the cubes at this point.
Yeah, if you're still gonna
How
be training, right? You want to increase your rates while you're training, and you'll be able to make the money back faster, right? You're almost gonna double your rates, because right now you have drop rate in your durability, and you don't have any meso obtain, right? You just have drop rate. I
Yeah,
think.
so
Yeah.
I was thinking like I was right now I'm just wondering how I should distribute my meso for the cubes. Should I just buy all black cubes, or I have like what kind of red, like do I need to buy red cubes at this point if I'm just rolling for meso lines?
Well, so if you're working on the event rings, yeah, I would get some black cubes to get to legendary, and then use your Meister cubes from the shop first, right?
Okay.
That shouldn't be too many cubes there. But you'll have to buy some reds if you want to do like the pendants and the earring, right?
Yeah.
You-
For me, I was thinking like, should I mainly focus on my drop gear for now, or 'cause I was planning on getting my hat and my top and bottom to legendary as well. Hope like getting it at least to 12% kind of stat. I don't think I was gonna get like 2 lines with this many cubes.
Yeah,
I think it's way too few.
that might be a bit too much pressure. It's fine to keep your CRA stuff at
The
like
epic right now. That's why.
yeah, Epic 9 or at Unique and getting like 12% or something is fine for a long time. The accessories are definitely way more important, because they will make your income just a lot better. And then once you have all the stuff at 17 as well, that'll like build up the buffer. The thing with CRA is that, specifically with the hat and the top, is you have a lot of junk lines in Legendary, and it's like way more expensive. It's actually more expensive it's about the same or more expensive in Legendary to get 21% than on Unique to get it, just because of all the extra shit lines that they add into it. And then if you add on top of that the cost of even tiering up on top of it, it's just not worth it unless you're at least going for 24, 27, or 30 or something. And like in general, it's a good opportunity now if there's a cube sale. If there wasn't a 5, 10, 15 like a week after, I would say definitely do it. But I would hate to see you miss out on the 5 to 15 opportunity, because it's a sale on the cubes, but it's 25% off. You know, if something usually costs you 400 mil, it's now 300. Like that's definitely lower, but you save way more on the 5 to 15. And even though 5 to 15s are more common than a cube sale, yeah, it would be too much pressure to throw that in the mix right now as well, I would say.
What kind of gear should I be pushing for 5, 10, 15 at this point?
Yeah, so that's a good question. So I want to look at like just a picture of all your equips. I guess this one is the best one we have. Is like, so what is a complete set that we're going to look at, right? So the right side is going to stay pretty much exactly the same. In which ways are you moving into Abzo right now?
I haven't started Abzo.
Mm-hmm. You're doing the weeklies though, right? You mentioned those.
Yeah, I've been doing the weeklies. I'm still working on getting my stats up before I join our guild struggle party for now.
Mm-hmm.
Because since it's a both mix of gear or mix of stats and mechanics, I figured I'll first get the stats down since I'm already I still want to get to C-Bell first. That's like my main priority right now. And once I feel I could confidently do that, I think I'll be able to contribute in terms of mechanics and stats for Lotus.
I think so too. There's some bosses in between, of course, right? There's CPAP, HMAG, and Akechi are kind of like the in between those two things. So working towards trying to solo those would also be very good practice just to get good character control and that kind of stuff. And just in general, for Lotus and Damien, I would advise the same thing that I did for Vellum, is to just go in and to just be in the boss fight just by yourself, practice mode, and just like try to survive and like figure out like, okay, what can I dash through, what can I teleport through, what can I use Chaos Lock for, what can I not use it for, you know, what is a safe spot to stand, what is not a safe spot to stand, when do I need to use an iframe, when can I save my iframe. Just
how effective is Chaos Lock for the boss fights? I haven't really used it at all. I'm really not sure if it's will I need it in the future, or should I like start integrating it just so I get used to it?
From what I heard, it can be really useful in some situations. I think what I heard for Lotus is that that might be the Shade. Shade has like a similar kind of teleport. I think Chaos Lock helps you get through the laser in phase 1 in Lotus, I believe. But it might act the same way as for Shade, where sometimes it teleports you too high, where your top of your head still hits the laser and you still die, something like that. That might be something that you specifically talk to other Demon Slayers about, though. Kind of maybe some, if you run into some things like, hey, do you have some advice specifically? That's a little bit above my pay grade. I think Chaos Lock is definitely something to keep an eye out, where if you're in a situation where you think like, okay, now there's nothing I can do, maybe that's the time when Chaos Lock can actually, you know, because if you have a 100% chance of dying and using Chaos Lock makes it only like a 90% chance, it's worth trying if you don't have an iframe, right? Anything that lowers the chance of imminent death is usually worth an option. You writing down things?
Yeah, I'm just thinking of what other skills I could be integrating.
Mm-hmm.
Because I also have a dash.
Yeah.
I think it's Dark Thrust.
Yeah, the end lag on that though is oof. You're like locked in place, right? For almost 2 whole seconds. Yeah, doesn't feel very good.
So I shouldn't be using that either.
That'll be a specific DS. Like I'm used to as a Demon Slayer. I can like for mobbing sometimes I would just spam it, dash through things, and you know, that would make mobbing pretty straightforward and simple for me. But yeah, that would be specifically for Demon Slayers. There's probably at least 1 or 2 situations that I can't think of right now where it's very useful. But I can't think of any off the top of my head right now.
So like, just the jump glide, just like locking it in as well. That's enough for like getting like, it's possible to play the game, do bosses with just that, right?
So I'm used to the Demon Avenger mobility and I never locked it myself. That's just what I'm used to. But like I imagine for mobbing, it's a little bit more fluid if you're jumping around a lot that you lock it instead. Yeah.
Like for me, I'm kind of like when you look at an Adele that has like a lot of mobility with their skills, it's kind of like if they need to use all of that for bossing, would I also need more than just my jumping skills to dodge mechanics or dodge
Yeah.
boss attacks?
Yeah, okay, so
That's
maybe I
what I'm
do
kind of
know.
wondering.
Yeah, so the dash skill, for example, can be very useful in situations where you want horizontal only mobility. So then this is specifically on bosses where things fall from the sky. And our flash jump has kind of the tendency of giving you a little bit more of a vertical, right? A little bit of an arch. So if
Yeah.
you're looking at like Magnus, for example, you want to get from one side to the other because you want to get out of range for his swipe or for whatever reason, right? If or the rocks are falling from Vellum, and once you're used to the rhythm of the rock, and like if I jump now, I'm gonna hit the rock. But if you dash underneath it with a dash instead, you might get to the position where you want to get, but you won't get hit by the rock. And if you know the distance of the dash, and that's another thing you have to really get used to on your character. Like when you're standing still, you have to know if I flash jump right now, where am I roughly going to be landing, depending on how high I flash jump. If I glide now, how far can I go? If I use the dash, where is that going to put me on my screen, right? That's very important to know for these bosses, because you don't want to dodge one rock and then hit into another one. Even though, if you get hit by a rock further away from Vellum, that's always better than one close to him, because there's a chance that the stun is gone and that you can move out of the way before he comes up. But then that comes from experience and from assessing, like, okay, what is the chance of dying here? What is the chance of dying there? How can I lower the chance? Can I not lower it sufficiently? Do I need to use an iframe, etc.? So there's definitely situations where things fall from the sky where you would want horizontal mobility only. Lotus, things falling from the sky, HMAG, things falling from the sky, Vellum, things falling from the sky, and many bosses after that. Things just keep falling out of the air. So dashing horizontally can definitely just get you from point A to point B faster. So yeah, that might be a good idea also for the Vellum runs, to just, push the skill every now and then, see how far do you get, see if it helps you in certain situations, yeah. Or like after Vellum, right, when he shoots fireballs, when he goes down, if you're too close to him, he'll push you back, and sometimes that pushes you back into tails. With a dash like that, what could happen is that you stay pretty close to him until he goes underground, hit him like one or two more times, and then dash out of the way right before the end, and get a little bit more damage in that way. That could be something.
Guessing that's just gonna be a bunch of practice runs just to get used to mechanics then.
Yeah, and dying is fine, because when you die, you know something that you can't do, and then you can cross that off the list, right? Sometimes you just have to die to everything 2 or 3 times just to figure out what is the best way to go about it. But that's how everyone does it, right? You make a bunch of mistakes, learn from them, and then you avoid them, and then that's how you identify what is the danger zone and what is the safety zone.
So I kind of want to go through like a summary of my next few steps.
Yeah, so we were looking at the equip. So for Abzo, so you're laying the groundwork for that. So that's something that we have to think about right now. The one thing you can lay the groundwork for Abzo is by getting stuff that's level 150 Star Forced up, so that once you get the Abzo, you can immediately transfer Hammer into it and then be done with it, right? That would be very expensive though in this current situation. I'm not sure you have 5 bill now. If you're going to be able to afford all of that, that might be again, like, taking a little bit on a little bit too much. That might be a thing for the next event. So I'm going to take Abzo prep and put that to the side for now. We do keep in mind though, Abzo coming in, which means that the items that are going to be replaced with Abzo is probably ones that we're not going to overly invest in right now, for that very reason. So that does mean that the brunt of the value is going to come on. So like what in my head, what is the major priority? Major priority for me is can I click this and like zoom? No, not really. Major option for me, the major order that I'm looking at things personally is, first of all, is the weapon on your flame, the flame on your weapon good? Other way around. That's like an important one, right? because that has the potential to be a lot. Well, it has some all-stat, has strength, and it has at least that looks like a tier 6 attack. So that's definitely fine for now, right? That's within a progression session, the kind of thing that you're aiming for. That is definitely in that wheelhouse. We looked at the critical rate at the IED. That all seems fine. We looked at... we didn't look at your matrix, but I think you're on top of that because I didn't hear you about that, so I assume you have no questions about any of that.
No, I've pretty much been popping all my node stones, getting my mobbing skills up. Luckily, my mobbing and my boss nodes are pretty much the same. I managed to get a node with both of them on it, so I just been leveling that one up as quickly as possible.
Yep. Yeah, I guess the one thing to mention is that the blink node is actually gonna buff in KMS, so make sure you...
Yeah, I haven't disassembled a lot of the only ones I've been disassembling has been the one that boosts the Forge Job skill one. I think that's the only one I've disassembled. The other ones I kept just in case are getting buffed or not.
That might be decent. Like, yeah, I think like Hyper Body, Mystic Door, like those are definitely ones that you can get rid of. I'd probably keep the Decent Combat Orders one because once you get to like 260 or something, that's pretty much always a useful one to put in because it just boosts your main Fourth Job skills, which is always nice. And there's a bunch of passives there, like a little bit of Mastery, usually a little bit of crit damage, a little bit of boss damage, a little bit of this and a little bit of that. That all adds up together to being a decent amount, enough of final damage to throw it in. But it is a pretty min-maxy buff, mainly just for bossing. Like for mobbing, it's not even worth the time of pressing it because it has kind of a long delay. So you don't want to have to rely on that one skill boosting your stuff a little bit to be able to one-shot, of course. But for bossing, for min-maxing later on, it is worth it. So I would keep that one. Yeah, so what I'm looking at is, first thing I'm looking at is the flame of the weapon, right? Weapon, secondary, emblem, like in that order, very important. So I would say the weapon is definitely at the point where you want it to be. And then it would be secondary and emblem, looking where that's at. And then seeing with the event coming up, I think we can definitely make some gains there, with the cubes as well.
I should be rolling it, though.
Sorry, what did you say?
I should be rolling my weapon sorry, not my weapon, my emblem and secondary.
Yes, I would get both of those to 2 lines of attack. That'd be ideal. Of course, you know, if you happen to roll like a line of IED or a line of boss on the secondary, that could be worth it too. Just like 2 useful lines at least. So strength, not including strength in that. It's just too much below all the other lines in terms of utility. So you don't really want to count those. So like 21% attack or something on both of them would be great. A combination, at least for now, would be fine.
Is that doable in my meso count, or?
I think that's an average. Yeah, so I would definitely say the accessories are more important. Because, again, they will make the money come in faster, and then they increase the money. The gains from there will increase the money rate more than the sale will decrease the cost of cubing on the emblem in the secondary, right? So therefore, it's like a higher priority. I think it's like... Yeah, you're right. It might be like 2 bill per item on average. I think the secondary might be a little bit higher because it has some weird junk lines on it, right? Emblem is not too expensive from what I remember. Red cubes. Let's see, 2 lines of attack. Oh wow, it says like median 634 mil, average cost 915 mil for 2 lines of attack on the emblem. So that would include 18%, I think.
Actually, with the cube sale, it's like...
Yeah, it'd be a bit cheaper. Yeah, it's like 52 median cubes, 75 average cubes. Yeah, is what it says. So that doesn't seem too bad at all for the emblem. The secondary might be a bit more expensive, though. Yeah, secondary is almost double the cost. That's a 1 bill, 1.6 bill average, yeah. Yeah. So take that. So I would do the accessories first, right? But then definitely look at the emblem and the secondary possibly after that. Just remember that like the emblem is, you know, about half the cost of the secondary. So if you feel like you're gonna run out of money, or that's gonna be too deep into your pockets and you're not gonna be able to make all that money back by the 5, 10, 15, it is also fine to just skip the secondary for now. The secondary is even at the point where it's not even that bad of an idea to just, after like your weekly bosses, you just buy a pack of red cubes and you just like try for something better. Something like that. But again, you have a lot of other things to work on it as well now, so it might be better to make sure that everything else is settled, right? Just until like the droplets, the droplets are bought and like in your inventory, and then you can start looking back at all your possible expenditures on your account.
I think the real struggle is going to be deciding between capping my meals or farming for Mesa.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's either I could cut down on capping on meals and farming on Mesa, which means I'll have fewer flames, but I'll have droplets.
Mm-hmm.
Or by some nearby match to end up doing belts, which is probably rare and probably not going to happen.
Yeah, the thing with flames is that there's no flame events in the sense that there's ever like a discount or a higher rates on flames or whatsoever. So I always see them as kind of a icing on the cake kind of upgrading thing that you can always do later. But when it comes to cubing and there's a sale, I would say definitely that gets a higher priority. And of course, like 30% off for 5 and 15 events for Star Force are huge. But because the way I play the game, well, that's colored by the way I play the game. I boss on so many characters. I just cluster up all of the flames that I get, and I just throw those at an item just one at a time, make small upgrades one at a time until eventually all of the flames are kind of good, and I end up never spending that much money on flames. But that's like a labor of patience and over a long period of time. So my gut would tell me to like deprioritize the flames a little bit and prioritize making the money on the main a little bit more. If that's like the time allocation choice that you have to make, that's probably what I would do in your situation. But yeah, it also depends on what you enjoy doing, right? If your enjoyment goes down because of the shifting the balance and that makes you want to play even less, then your entire efficiency could go down as a result. So, in the end, just you got to do what you feel like doing. What your gut tells you to do is like, I care more about the, because sometimes the quote unquote more efficient decision isn't the best decision for you, because if it makes you feel worse at the end of the day, then who's to say it was better if you end up feeling worse about it, right? So don't, yeah.
So what should I do in terms of 5, 10, 15? Like, what should be
Yeah.
my priorities?
Yeah, so let's go back to the picture with all the equips on, right? So so we basically went through the entire right side. It's probably not going to be too much different. So when the pieces that are going to be replaced with Abzo, we're specifically looking at and technically kind of also the hat, right? If you want to go for the 5-set Abzo on top of the weapon right now. So this CRA hat might be put offside for a little bit. But we're looking at the shoulder, so I would probably keep the shoulder where it is. Maybe bump it to 16 because that's really cheap and it's free stat basically. But I don't think I would safeguard the shoulder to 17. I think I would focus more on the earring, because basically until you get full superior, the earring is going to stick with you the whole way through. So I would do the earring, and I'd probably disregard the shoe, the glove completely. I would do CRA, and then the eye and the face, right? I think those are the items you already had in mind. But you said the shoulder, I think. So I would switch out the shoulder for the earring. And focus on those items. Yes.
Is it worth not reflaming? Is it worth making a new earring if I have better flames on it?
I wouldn't spread myself too thin. I would just go for one earring, get it to legendary, get a line of meso or drop and a line of strength, and get it to 17, and then sit on that. And if you have all your other items all have better flames than your current one, then you can reflame this one and try for a better one. But I wouldn't reflame until all your other flames are like on point and are there. But it is a flame advantage item, so it is kind of high on the list, yeah.
I mean, like,
yeah.
I have a different like I have the same earring.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
right, and it has a better flame score, and you wanted to make sure. Yeah. But it's still like no Star Force and just rare potential, something like that.
Epic, but yeah, everything else is
Epic. And is it like a 90 flame score, or is it like a 60? Like, how much are we talking?
41 stat 5%, and then I have another one 47 stat 4%.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so that's so you're basically looking at and you're only quote unquote up to 15, and it is epic. Yeah, I can see how that would be kind of a dilemma. Well, what you could do is just wait for the earring until like later on in the upgrades, right? Like let's say that you only are left with like a bill, and you've done everything else that you wanted, but you haven't done the earring yet. You know, at that point, it's probably better to just bump this one up to 17. But if you're left with like 4 bill or something, and you have way more wiggle room, then you could say like, I'll take the stronger earring and just get it over with. Personally, I don't think it's such a huge problem because eventually you'll flame this one a little bit better, and it'll get to like 60 or to 70 without, you know, at a certain point, you'll have flames, but their potential of upgrading other items will be so low that the flame itself will actually have almost no value anymore, right? And the value of the flame is based on how much can it improve your account rather than how much does it cost in the shop. So if all the other flames are on point, and the only thing you can really flame is this, and eventually you're going to get this to like 60 or 70 flame score anyway, then you're really only upgrading about 10 to maybe 15 flame score to have to redo the Star Force. That's like the comparison that you have to make. So I think I would let that depend on how much money you're left with on 5, 10, 15 day, and just leave the earring for like one of the last items and let that decide. That's what I would do.
So top and bottom should also be 17 starter.
Yeah, that's like a no-brainer. Yeah, definitely do that. Depending on your backups, you can even do that without safeguarding, but that's kind of up to you how risk aversive you are in that.
I don't want to push them back up to 15 star though, so I might just.
Yeah, it's not fun. I totally get that. Yeah. Yeah, and the eye in the face for like 10 and 10 and 15. Yeah. Yeah, they definitely get those up to 17 too. Yeah. Yeah, then eventually you'll probably go for like a second set of those, right? And then if you end up with better drop, then you switch them out and you just recube.
Like these ones I didn't transpose on just because I didn't want to put I didn't want to like put drop gear on my the Zakum accessories.
Yeah.
So I was like, I'll just buy these since I already have enough dinero. I'm not gonna farm CPAPing. I'm not gonna farm it soon, so might as well just put the dinero to use, get some accessories that have some good defense.
That's totally fine. It's not even realistic to expect a pep mark soon anyway. It's totally fine to go for 17, or some people even go for like 20 or 21 monocle before they even see a pep mark. That's totally fine. But yeah, I think those the 17. So we're talking about 5 items. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 items now. Do you have a Dominator drop already?
I do have 2 of them. They're build 0 star right now.
Mm-hmm.
I only have the reed pendant there. Just I kind of forgot to take it off. That's why.
I see. Yeah. So otherwise, what do you do? Use like a Mechanator or something, or?
Yeah, I have. Yeah. So I have like a 12-star Mechanator right now, 55 stat, 6% all stat.
Nice.
So that's why I normally use if, like, say I didn't have, I need that extra bit of damage.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I'd keep the greed pendant on.
Yeah, makes sense. So for rings, you try to use, you were gonna get like the Cosmos instead of like the Ephios, I guess.
Yeah. I'm going to be swapping out the Ephio one with probably the Cosmos one.
Yeah. And then getting those to legendary and the lines. So you will be 1 line down if you're using the current Dominator, right? Because you can't redo the potential.
Yeah.
So it might be a good idea for drop rate to also start working on 1 Dominator.
Okay.
So that you have
2 Dominators right now, so that I can do that.
Yeah, so because you know about the caps on drop rate and meso obtain from your equips?
100% on for meso, and then 300% for gear.
Well, so plus 200%, so 10 lines. So 5 lines meso, 10 lines drop is the most that you can get. So you have 9 accessories, right, that can get drop rate or meso. So ideally, what people do is they go for 5 meso obtain and then 4 of drop, because that's enough to guarantee 1 bag per monster, so that all of the meso obtain is applied, and go for 4 if you can, because you get more nodes, more droplets, more, all of the whole shebang. The other thing is, of course, if you can get a little bit of drop rate from a familiar, that's typically very useful. But
right now I'm using a rare one.
Yeah, that's fine. You'll get into 245 probably in no time, right? And Moonbridge, I think, is pretty good for Demon Slayer. So then that's when you start getting so many of them that you know, you won't know what to do with them. So they'll be fine. Okay, so we're looking at those rings. Yeah, your cup is already really good. The other option, the other thing that you might want to consider is, yeah, Helix is not around the corner yet. You get CVEL in no time, and then CPAP, Akechi. Well, HMAG first, then probably CPAP, then Akechi are going to be pretty close after that. And then once you start doing like Lotus and Damien, that's when you also want to start looking at Helix, of course. And Helix is something you do want to prep for. So the thing with the shoulder and with the belt now is I wouldn't go too far beyond that because the shoulder, into Abzo. And for the belt, I think it's a really good idea. Although this one is level 140, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and this one is also replaceable. I don't know if you're doing Princess No weekly.
Yeah, I am.
Yeah, okay, for the possible ring, right? Yeah. It could be a decent idea to just get the belt to 17. Because then if you do get the superior drop, you can transfer Hammer it over right away and immediately, you can maintain value like that, right? We like those kind of things, those upgrades that maintain value because we don't have trade. So,
should I do in the next one though? Because I don't think I'm close to superior drop anytime soon, or superior belt.
Oh yeah. That's like a thing to keep in mind that's a value saver right there. So again, like depending on how well the 5, 10, 15 goes, if you're like, oh shit, I still actually have a lot of money and the event's still going, that could be like the next item to push up without really feeling too bad about it.
Okay.
Other than that, it would be mainly just be saving up for the droplets, of course. And then the main thing after that, it will depend on the backups and everything. But the main thing after that will probably see if you see a 30% off coming, be a good idea to get those Ramaru items, right? Those level 150, so like the shoulder, possibly another Fafnir hat at that point, and then the glove, the cape, and the shoe, and try to get those.
Yeah? I have a lot of my CRA copies.
Yeah, exactly. Try to get those 5 up to 15 during a 30% off, so that when another 5, 10, 15 comes by, you can bop them to 16, transfer over into Abzo 16, and then bop the Abzo to 17, and then start working on that potential.
Okay.
And then basically during all that time, you're building up backups and mezzo and everything for the accessories, and then the next event, you go hard on the accessories and push the accessories and your CRA stuff. And then after that, hopefully the next move is Arcane. So that's like
or
a year and a half to 2 years later. Yeah, those are like the major steps after that. But to kind of, not to say like, okay, like shoes are never going to change or something, right? Like that's the future for all of the item slots, I think. Or is there any item slot right now where you're not quite sure what the future holds for that specific item?
Particularly, no. Or actually, the second pendant slot.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure what to do in terms like. I'm thinking a couple of options for either do the same thing as I did with the other Sweetwater accessories, get one just for drop and then take advantage of the extra base stats, or I could keep my Mechanator and roll that for drop.
That's since it has such a good flame, I would roll the Mechanator for man, yeah, because the stats are so good. That's a good question. Yeah, because like eventually you end up with like a Transpose Sweetwater and a Superior, right? So the steps now would be, so for drop you're using, we want to get you to the point that for drop you're using a Dominator and and the Greed Pendant, right? And then for damage you're using this current Dominator and then the Mechanator. If you do end up rolling like drop with damage or a mezzo with damage or drop and mezzo, God forbid, right, on the Mechanator, then it just becomes a drop pendant and then you're just have to gonna deal with that. Yeah, like that just becomes your reality. But ideally, I think you want to go for damage on the Mechanator because eventually you want to get your Dominator with drop or mezzo on it. You want to get that one to well, actually, either way that it works out is fine. Like, if you tier it up and it ends up, either is fine. Because either you go for damage on the Mechanator, and then you get a second Dominator and get that one for drop. But then eventually you want to Star Force it, flame it, and transpose it into the Sweetwater, right? Or you want to Star Force it very high, transfer hammer it into the Superior, so you don't have to risk blowing up a Superior. So in both of those cases, it will change functionality. So if you want to go keep straight functionality, on the Mechanator on the side, because that will then eventually become a drop rate pendant, then that would be, I guess, technically preferable, right? Because it's one less time that you have to recube things. But yeah. But it just, if you get it to Legendary and it ends up rolling damage, now it's your damage pendant. If it ends up rolling drop and mezzo, now it's your drop mezzo pendant. Yeah. Just, you kind of let the...
Is it worth making a second one in case I manage to get like a really good line for... in case I get a really good line for the Mechanator?
Another Mechanator? No, so the 4 pendants that I would max work with now would be Greed, the fake Dominator, a real Dominator, and your current Mechanator. Those 4, and nothing more. Okay. Because you're going to introduce more Superiors, and then you're going to do the transposing thing, and what you want to avoid is be done and have like 6 legendary pendants in your inventory and be like, oh god, I wasted so much money. Or like 12 legendary rings and be like, this could have been done better. Yeah, because we can't sell them at all anymore at the end, right? It's kind of the downside. Yeah, pendants was
I think I got all my questions answered.
I think so. We went over the rings. Your cup is like great. That's already endgame. Pendant possibility, weapon we went over. Yeah, weapon could be reflamed at some point, but this is like probably after the point that you switch into all the Abzo. And when you're thinking about like pushing past 17 on accessories, then you can consider maybe reflaming the weapon for like a tier 6 attack with either like a tier 5 damage and some stuff, or a tier 5 boss damage, something like that. Because, you know, just the stat on it right now is losing on some potential. But that's like 3-4 big spending events after this one, right?
I do have one other question.
Sure.
So I was planning, or suppose I'm going to continue capping on the flames in the membership shop.
Mm-hmm.
What should be my priority for flaming then?
Yeah, so flaming is the one thing that I was gonna call back to as well. Yeah. So are you aware of the progression grid with the numbers on it?
I haven't looked at recently. I only I was at the point where I was queuing for WSC, but that's it.
Mm-hmm. So I'll link it to you here so you can look at it with me while I'm looking at it on stream. Basically, this gives you, and you're aware of flame scores and how that's all calculated? Roughly?
I haven't done the math myself. I just only just wing it in terms of, does it look good or not?
Right. Yeah. So I have a Flamescore video on it. Goes really in depth on why we do it. Basically, what Flamescore tries to do is it tries to predict to you, once all of your upgrades are done, how good is the flame going to be for your character. And until your stuff is done, and while it's still in motion, which it still is, right? Even items that look worse can be better, and vice versa, and it can be a bit confusing. So these numbers will help you kind of, see the forest through the trees, make sure that you can, that you know for sure, like, okay, this might be a little bit worse now, but eventually, this will come online because of the combination of stats, and all of that is just based on, how much percentage stat do we have access to, how much attack do we have access to, how much flash stat do we have access to as players in Reboot, and therefore what kind of balance do you end up with in a certain stage of the game, and therefore how good will a flame end up being for me compared to all the other possibilities. So if you read up on that, check out the video, that'll clear all of that up. And then basically based on that, you can just look at these numbers here based on what level you are. You just look down, you look at the flame score. In the beginning, you can use the calculator to make sure that you get the right numbers. After a while, you'll be able to just eyeball it and it'll be close enough, or it'll be like spot on. And you basically look for every single item. How much distance is there between the current score and what score I want to be aiming for? And then depending on which one has the biggest gap, that's like your priority of flaming. And it's pretty much always just going to be the items with flame advantage. If you're unsure on that, the video explains all of that as well. But you'll basically just be focusing. For now, it's probably going to be fine. The one thing you can do though, and that's really cool, is that if you do buy your Abzo items before the flames expire and stuff, you can start flaming hard on Abzo, and because even if you transfer hammer over, it doesn't overwrite your flames, so that gives you a great thing to use your flames on, because Abzo, of course, high level item, 160, and has flame advantage, so those are going to be great after your weapon. That's like where you can get the best flame scores and the most stats from. So that would be a priority. After that, it's just anything else with flame advantage that's a little bit lower. So that would be your CRA gear and then your cup. But like your cup's already done. Your top is really good from what I saw. So it might be your hat or your pants. I don't remember exactly. Yeah, so the hat and the pants are like exactly the same, right? 12 and 5. So those would probably be the next items. Or if those are all good enough and you're fine and your kill speed is okay and you don't really have any trouble bossing, you could think of maybe starting to flame on your Dominator Pennant. Or if you, God forbid, you get a Papulatus mark and you can start prepping those for transposing. That could be an option for you. But I wouldn't go harder on your cape or anything, right?
Your audio cut out for a sec.
Oh, sorry. What's the last thing you heard?
Papulatus mark.
Yeah, if you get some of those could be the priority after Abzo to start working on, to start preparing for transposing. And you want to start thinking about transposing basically when everything is around 17 and you want to start pushing past 17. That's like around that mark you want to start thinking about transposing and Sweetwater Pendants and all that stuff. So yeah, keep an eye on the flame scores, on the target flame scores, and then just... What I typically do is I just save up all my flames from my bossing, and then whenever they start disappearing, I start flaming. And then I just look at the item with the biggest gain potential, throw flames on. If I'm close to the end of my flames, and the gain, there's either no gain or minimal loss, then I just hold on to that until the next time the flames start flashing. If you have access to a lot of flames, you can go a little bit higher, of course. But just make sure you don't flame on things that you're going to transfer hammer over, because flames don't transfer hammer over, but they do transpose over. So anything you want to transpose, that's always a good idea to go for. And
is the priority for flames always the flame advantage equipped, just because they give higher potential or higher stats?
Pretty much, but like let's say that your current flame score is like 100 and your end game is 105, but your your superior pendant or something has like 10 flame score and you want to go for like 40, well then there's much more growth potential there. And even though it will seem more depressing because there'll be more rolls that give you absolutely nothing, on average it'll still cost you fewer flames. And there is a calculator as well for flames. I don't have it in the command yet, but I think I will add it soon. Where if you go to our boy Suckhard's, he has a flame calculator where you can put in a flame score, and then once you know flame score and once you've looked into that, this part will make more sense. Where you can basically say like, what type of item do I want to flame? What kind of flame score do I want to go to? Is it flame advantage or not? And like, how many flames is that going to cost on average? So in the beginning, you can use this if you want to kind of order like, okay, this item needs 50 to get to the goal. This one needs 200. Okay, then this one is clearly the one to go for, the first one, because that means that every flame I throw in there has a bigger value or bigger chance of returning more value, basically. Here, I'll send you this link as well so you can look at that. And then the other one is under !! Flaming. That has the video that a lot of people have found very helpful, talking about flames, flame scores, and all that stuff. Other than that, I mean, yeah, make sure you keep doing your dailies and get all the nodes you can, right? Nodes are, they're getting up there though. Your nodes are doing pretty well. But yeah, you're
what's the point where it's, crafting them doesn't make sense? Like, what kind of level do I stop them at? And like, where would you recommend putting like the extra nodes?
So usually when my boost nodes get all of them are like level 22, 23 around there. Usually I start working on my skill nodes, because you'll open up so many more nodes in the future, and then you'll get boost nodes from that eventually, and it'll max out eventually. And you're like, yeah, you're dotting your I's and crossing your T's with that at that point. And you do have a lot of useful skill nodes that add a lot of damage to your boss fight, specifically Demon Awakening, right, with the extra uptime. So that's probably at that point would be a good idea to just start full pumping into Demon Awakening and maybe even Holy Symbol, right, for the drop rate and the experience. That will probably be about the time to do that.
Okay.
And I'm not sure if you need Speed Infusion, by the way. I'm not 100% on that.
Still looking into how to hit the hard cap.
Is it like Green Pot Speed Infusion? Is that a booster? That would be enough, right?
I think so, yeah.
No. But yeah, well, next level you can use it, right?
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, I think we covered pretty much everything.
Yep.
If there's anything you can
I
still...
got a good idea of how to progress at this point.
Yeah, it's a lot, right? With the events and everything. You want to make sure you don't make any huge mistakes. I get it. Yeah, I get it. It's like a lot to consider.
Everything right now seems to be like investment into like the future kind of thing.
Uh-huh.
So for me, it's like I was kind of resistant against getting drop gear when at least when I was first playing, because for me it was like, how could I spend 1 billion on drop gear when I could immediately get some damage boost instead? But then it's kind of like, oh, you have to play for the future as well, since if you're gonna play for a while, then you'll get the gains anyway. And it becomes hard to measure those gains and
yeah, in the beginning it's very true. In the beginning you don't want to go like, oh, I'm going to go full drop gear and then just completely ignore all your other stuff and then be like, well, now I have all the drop in the mezzo, but I'm 15 shotting monsters. It's like, well, now that's not very efficient. But with the kill speed you have now, right? That's why you want to get to this kill speed you have now with epic gear, and then if you move the epic gear straight up to legendary and then still try to get a little bit of strength on it, then you're not losing any kind of kill potential from your accessories, because they're probably like 9% in epic and they're going to move on to 9% in legendary as well. So the only thing you're gaining is the mezzo and the drop rate, and that's when you see those rates going up like crazy. And then training also feels way more rewarding because you see the numbers go brrr, right? It's just really satisfying. Have the map full of money, walking around, opening up your inventory, see that number go up. That just feels really good. Yeah, other than that, I don't see any like.
Do you recommend people like make their mezzo gear at the point I am, or would you say I should have done it a bit earlier?
No, I think like prioritizing your kill speed is fine. Some people will do it earlier on the character, but that's mainly if they already have a big legion and big links, so that they can get to the kill speed that you're at right now, that they can get to that a little bit earlier. But typically that's when I do it, like when I enter Arcana or when I'm in Arcana is usually what I think is a good idea. Unless your character's function is to make money, like on Arcana, then you can start doing it in Lackline, I think. But other than that, that's, you know, whether it's a little bit late or a little bit early, it's definitely like right in that ballpark. You're fine. And of course, you've also been like rocket propelled through the game because of the compensation, right? So
yeah, I kind of regret doing it just because I feel like
it's a different experience.
If I properly space it out, then maybe, I could spend a few levels leveling here, but I'll also get the no stones and the mezzo from it in the process. But then if my rates do go up as you said they would, then maybe it's not as bad as it sounds.
Oh, one last thing that you mentioned. Don't sit on or waste on potential symbols. You can make symbols and fuse them together if you need to make room in your inventory or something. Do you know about like the stacking trick for the symbols?
Oh, no. Like any symbols I get from the dailies, I do those. The only ones I don't do are the ones that have to trade in the coins for.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Okay. As long as you're good. Yeah. And you don't have any of the compensation left, or do you have those left for Asphera?
I still have it for the Plas symbol. I have like 700 left.
Right. And you're just planning on dumping those into Asphera, maybe into Morass to even those out?
Yeah. Or I think that they're all going to go to Asphera just because I already had like a week or two worth of dailies I've already did. It's actually it's been more than a few weeks.
Yeah, you're already at 11.
I've already did the daily, so I might as well compensate for that.
Yeah, you might get like what would it be, like low level 13 for both Asphera and Morass, something like that.
Yeah. Then there's also the 100 symbols from this event. So.
Yep. And I don't know if you've done the reverse and Celas. Well, you haven't done Celas yet, but Reverse City and Yum Yum Island storylines, you could get 20 from that as
I
well
finished,
each.
yeah.
Oh yeah, okay, yeah. Yep. Okay, and I think in the event shops there's a few, right?
Yeah, I still have to get those, so I still have to plan out how I want to distribute the coins, at least for my main character still.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean that's problems for later.
Yeah.
All right. Well,
Thanks, Fire Dude 13. It's fine.
yeah, exactly. You've got enough on your plate already.
Yeah. Thanks for all the help. I was probably going to make a really bad decision with all the cubing if I didn't have this the progression session.
Okay. Well, good. I'm glad to be able to help then.
Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. And yeah, if there's still any questions you have right after, let me know. It'll probably take a little bit for me to upload it, so probably find it somewhere tomorrow on YouTube, and then you can make sure you double check that you didn't forget anything. But yeah, I'll always be available for questions in the chat and everything like that. So best of luck, and you know, I'll see you in the big leagues. All right, see ya. Bye bye. Okay. All right, yeah, so hopefully this was helpful. I assume that a bunch of people who went really hard with compensation are kind of in a similar spot where we know that the cube sale is coming this weekend, and then the weekend after that, you have a 5, 10, 15. There's a lot of things to spend money on, and you have the droplets in the back of your mind. So if you're in a similar situation, you can take a lot of information from this. The only priority shift that could happen for you is if you are going for the Kana farmer because you need that flexibility, because you already have a Kana, you already have investments in it, etc. Then I would deprioritize a little bit the mezzo and the drop on the main, again, depending on how much you play, and maybe prioritize a little bit harder the weapon, the secondary, and emblem, and going into the Abzo gear, and move that a little bit more to the front. But the way that I play, this would be the way to go for me as well. Drop rate of mezzo on the accessories, very hard, makes you a lot of money very quickly, and then that allows you for the next event to be set, have way more cash to spend, and go super hard then. It's taking one step back and then taking two steps forward the next event, basically. If this was informational for you, I'm glad. I hope you picked up at least one or two pieces of information. Hopefully the spokes in the wheel analogy for CVEL helped one or two people not getting stunned every 2 seconds in the Vellum run, because I know that it's very frustrating in the beginning. But yeah, if you want one of these sessions, make sure you check the description of the video. If you have information for me in terms of a battle analysis, monster skill per hour, or training video in anywhere in the Tenebris area, monster skill per hour in the Arcane River, please, by the way. Send those to me. I use that as input for the information I give to the players, so I can help them make good predictions and good choices in which characters they want to play. Send those to me. All information I'll do all of that is also in the description of the video. And with that, thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.